All right. Hi, everyone. Really glad to have you join us for an amazing Q&A after our Inheritance short film program. We're very lucky to be joined today by filmmakers from three shorts. First, we have Alex Lewis and Caitlin Spalje from Snowy. We have Julie Cavalier from Puppet Me and Pierre-Philippe Chevigny from Rebel. So we're very excited to be joined by all these filmmakers. And thank you so much for making such awesome shorts that we all got to watch. Very excited to be asking you questions about them for the next 15 or so minutes. All right, I would
Thanks for
like to
having us.
start with Pierre-Philippe. I'm very curious about what your experience was working with your young lead. He was really amazing in the film, and I would just love to hear about how that was.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for selecting the film. Like Seattle is one of those festivals that I've always wanted to be a part of, and yeah, unfortunately because of COVID, I'm not there physically. But yeah, it's really nice to be a part of this. And so yeah, Alex, the character is played by a 6-year-old boy named Edouard Belarocque. And the thing with the child actors is when you audition them, you can tell right away whether or not they really want to be there, or if it's just their parents pushing them to become actors. And so we auditioned about 40 boys to find him. And yeah, most of the kids that were there, you could tell that they didn't enjoy themselves, but he actually did. Like, he walked into the room and he was like super enthusiastic and like genuinely enjoying himself. And so right there we knew it was going to be like somewhat easy because he wanted to be a part of this. And especially with me, like, it's a challenge because I do these long takes, like with the over the shoulder camera that just follows the kid around, and there's not that much editing, so the kid needs to be good because I can't like cheat by cutting away to something else. And so he was really really solid, and I think like when you're working with a good child actor, it's like working with a normal actor. They're just naturally good and they know what they're doing just in very instinctively. And so yeah, it was super fun to work with him actually.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too, your short is about a pretty heavy subject matter, obviously told through the eyes of this child. I was wondering to what extent he really knew about what was going on or what the short was about, and like how much of awareness that he had kind of about the global events that
Yeah.
it's depicting.
I don't think he was aware of that much. Like, even recently we did interviews and you could tell like he's coming at it like from a very naive and innocent and childish perspective, and to him, I think deep down the film is about empathy, and that's what he connected with more than the social issues or the political context behind it. That's something that I think to this day he doesn't really understand. It's very vague to him, but empathy for another child, that's something like he could relate to, and that's what shows up on screen in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found it particularly moving as well, just the idea of like you obviously feel pretty worried for this child growing up in this environment, but to see how much empathy he conveys throughout the short, it gives you kind of a
Right.
sense of hope throughout as well.
Yeah, that's definitely like that's the idea, especially for the ending. Like, it was meant sort of as a glimmer of hope for sure, because like in Quebec things are going like sort of veering to the right, much like in the US with the alt-right movement, and that's something that was worrying to me. And I felt like if we have faith in the next generation's ability to fix those issues, maybe like we can look at this with the a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And Julie, I'd love to ask you some questions about Puppet Me as the writer, producer, star extraordinaire. You're really like the main creative force behind bringing Puppet Me to life. I would love to hear about kind of the impetus behind the story.
Um, oh, that's a good question. So it came in like a series of steps. I mean, I had personally just in my life experienced a lot of loss, and just that dealing of legacy and what your responsibility is versus what your identity is, and just that kind of push pull. And then I was just thinking a lot about it, and the idea that very often we hold on to mementos from those who have left us, and then it started to grow, and I started to think about, okay, well, what if that memento could speak back, and what would that be like, and what would that look like, and how would that relationship be, especially if that memento had such a strong connection to the person who left, and how can you possibly use that to reconcile an unfinished relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you do a really amazing job in the short balancing tones. Like it's very funny. The premise is very funny. And yet by the end, I'm like in tears, kind of laughing through tears. It's it's really a testament to your writing and your ability as a performer to really bring that story to life. And I think too, something that really resonated with me, especially after this past year, is like the idea of loss being shared kind of collectively and something that people can kind of work together to get through. It took on a lot more poignance. I think you filmed this prior to COVID, correct?
Yeah, we actually filmed this just before COVID sort of hit. We kind of snuck it in under the wire when I think even just before it started making headlines as like a thing that was far away and all of that. Yeah, we sort of just snuck it in just before the holidays, and then obviously the post-production was extended quite a bit because just because it wasn't at the forefront. Our families and grieving and all of that was at the forefront. But yeah, the idea behind the fact that there is a sense of community, and finding a sense of community, and having that lift you up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to ask our team from Snowy, one of my favorite things about your short is that it's about such an approachable subject. A lot of people that I talk to about short films are really excited about the idea of like making their own, or they want to write, but they don't necessarily know of an idea that seems like particularly big or like super dramatic and serious. And I think that your short illustrates really well that there are really amazing, really compelling stories all around us. It just depends on how you tell them. So I would like to know how you arrived at Snowy as the subject of your short.
Want to start?
Sure. So basically everybody you see in the film is my family. So that's Uncle Larry and Barbara, my cousins. And I grew up seeing this turtle, I don't want to say waste away in the basement, but at least in my imagination, in the corner, very sad. And it was very easy for me to project and kind of wonder, like, how can this turtle be clinging on to life, and how can it have this will to survive? So I think I had some kind of seed of a story, but it wasn't until Kaylin came into the picture. Kaylin's science journalism background, more writing, that she was able to elevate it to kind of the film that it is.
Yeah, I think it was one of those, it was a subject that we were both very drawn to, and our approach was also because it was family, and we were afforded the time of just kind of hanging out and sort of looking for the story while just filming. But yeah, at some point we were like, okay, we get it, sad turtle in the basement, family profile, what else?
And right, like, how do you get into the head?
Yeah, how do you kind of illustrate the inner world of a turtle, this expressionless house pet? And I got in touch with this woman in England, Dr. Anna Wilkinson, that studies cold-blooded cognition, and she was this magical person studying exactly what we'd hoped. I think Alex was sitting on the deck, and I came out and was like, "Hey, do you want to go to England?" And he said, "Hell yeah!" And I think the film kind of took off from there.
How did your family react when you pitched them on this story?
It took a lot of, gentle massaging. I was, throughout the whole filming, very suspicious. Uncle Larry would kind of turn to us and he's like, I don't know why you want to make a movie about me or my turtle, but in his mind, this side of the family, they're like, you guys are more creative, have at it. And he was very generous and hosted us and fed us, and like, oh, come back anytime. And it was a great like experience of really getting to know them better, even though they're, you know, first cousins and like, you know, as close blood as it gets besides, you know, sisters or brothers. Then when, you know, all the great reception we've had with Snowy, at first they were like, we don't believe you, you know, send us the emails of the festivals you're getting into, but obviously very proud. And I think they love the fact that they were able to go on. It's a real journey that they were able to go on, that Uncle Larry can really see Snowy in a different light. And I think everybody in the family appreciates this little creature's life more. And so, you know, they love the film, and they're also like happy that Snowy's gotten like a second wind.
Yes, with his like a brand new little cage and everything.
Yeah, Pimp My Cage. It's like MTV,
Yeah.
bad MTV reference, sorry.
Awful, just really bad.
And just to wrap up our quick Q&A here, I think one theme that it comes across all of these shorts is that kind of the idea of comfort or care being shared from one generation to the next. And I would like to know if during these kind of stressful, turbulent times, if any of you have revisited any movies or TV shows that maybe your parents showed you as a kid, or alternatively, if you've shown any of your own kids or nieces or nephews or any little ones in your life, any movie or TV show to kind of share comfort with them.
I've got one. Yeah, my mother used to be like the biggest Aliens fan ever, and I rewatched these films, like the entire series recently, and just how strong of a female character, you know, the lead actress Sigourney Weaver in that film is just amazing, so ahead of its time. So that's one, yeah, that my mother taught me to like.
I think we've been on a very intense and repeated Harry Potter kick.
Yeah, very nostalgic.
Which ironically we watched a bunch when we were in England filming for Snowy, and then kind of revisited again once we were quarantined here.
Very fun. And Julie?
Yeah, for me, it's funny because during quarantine, I sort of did like a deep dive into old Hollywood again. It was just something about the nostalgia of it all that I really got into. And I kind of revisited a lot of Hitchcock and watched Harvey with James Stewart, which I had never seen before, which was surprisingly funny. It's amazing how well that humor held up, and just, you know, and just the nostalgia of like old Hollywood musicals and things like that, just to kind of find some joy and just, yeah, there was just something about the time period that I found really comforting.
Yeah, well, thank you again for making such wonderful shorts and sharing them with us today. I really appreciate you all coming for this awesome Q&A, and have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.